I'll show you three devices you can use to improve your sales team's productivity. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Manusas Varoukzakis, and I have been working with hundreds of entrepreneurs to help them maximize their mental performance, focus, and productivity so they can scale their business as a result of unlocking peak mental performance. So, throughout my career, I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in crazy biohacks, supplements, medical tests, analyzing a lot of data from personal data. Also, hundreds of my clients spent thousands of hours talking to them one to one, and I've actually spent a lot of time behind the scenes to see what are those millionaire, like those six, seven, and eight-figure business owners and sales professionals using to perform at their highest level. What are the things that allow them to perform at the maximum level? What are the things that they like from the things that they're doing in their daily routines? What are the things that they're eating, how they're structuring their sleep schedule, how are they operating on a day-to-day perspective to unlock peak mental and physical performance, um, so that they can make the most amount of money in their business as a result of performing at a 0.1% level. And we've done the same thing for sales professionals and sales teams and closers to help them close more. You can see more about that if you go to my testimonials channel, which you can see a link below in the description to see testimonials and case studies, where I talk all about that, and I actually invite people to my channel to walk them through, to walk you through what are the things that we did to maximize their sales as a result of maximizing their peak mental performance. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the three devices you can use. As a matter of fact, the three gadgets you can buy your sales team to essentially implement and as a result improve their productivity. The number one tool that we're going to use is going to be a Oura Ring or a Whoop Band. Any trackable, any wearable device that you can track your sales team's sleep with is going to be phenomenal in terms of gathering data that you can, different data that you can use to see what you can do to optimize their productivity. Because sleep is such an important aspect of your mental performance and your sales team's performance, and most people only focus on the generic ways you can, like the generic things you can do or you can have your team do to improve their sleep quality, such as, and we've seen that firsthand, by the way. I've like investigated a lot of sales teams and worked with a lot of companies and seen what do they do to improve their sales team's performance. And besides accountability and motivation and speeches and like obviously having them follow healthy diets and like of course morning routine, breath work, that kind of stuff, there's not a lot of data behind that. And usually the highest performing sales teams use data because it's the exact same way as when you're treating the closing rate and the cash collected and average deal size and the sales cycle average length and all those numbers that you can quantifiably see, in terms of how much, what is the percentage of the cash of the deal that you're collecting on the call up front. You can measurably see that and reverse engineer what are the ways that you can improve that percentage, and you implement that by strategies. But if you don't have a quantifiable way of seeing how your sales team is sleeping, not only how they're selling, but how they're sleeping, and what are the things that actually allow each closer specifically to perform better as a result of having more energy, you can't really improve it. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So having a Oura Ring or a Whoop Band is what has given our clients the best results and what has allowed us to be the most specific in terms of creating a routine that is specifically made for each closer based on their sleep quality and stress levels and recovery. Because what, like the sleep schedule that is optimal for myself based on my data is not going to be the same as the sleep schedule of my closer, because it's probably that we work in different time zones, we have different responsibilities, and in different circadian clocks and biological clocks. There is something called the circadian clock or the circadian rhythm. You've probably heard of it if you're watching this video. But what you've probably not heard is that it controls the production and the scheduling of all of the different hormones and neurochemicals and the function of your organs and your entire body. This means that the time that you produce the more testosterone, your dopamine levels, the hormones that or chemicals that interfere with your focus and productivity or affect your focus and productivity or your sleep quality. All of those are controlled by this massive clock inside your brain. And you can actually track how well this clock functions and the quality of your sleep and recovery and your stress levels using this device. So get this for your closers and your sales team, and use this to, number one, create a dashboard so that you can see collectively all of their data, and then correlate it with their sales data to see correlations between their recovery and their sales performance, to be able to kind of like connect the dots and see what exactly you should focus on for each specific closer. And then number two, use the data to track their habits and routines and keep them accountable to that, because you know that they're probably telling you, hey, I woke up this time, and you give them a specific instructions for their routines and stuff. But if you don't have the data, they could be lying to you and you don't even know. So now if you do see impaired sales performance and at the same time you correlated that with impaired recovery and sleep quality, you can now keep them accountable specifically to those things. So that's the device number one that you can use to improve your sales team's productivity. The device number two that you can use to improve your sales team's productivity is a blue light blocking spectacle or glass like this here, what you see on the screen. So what this does is that it will, because a lot of times you have your team working in a different time zone. And many times your team will want to do more follow-ups in order to be more effective and close more deals and book more calls. Because many times if your team isn't on sales calls, they're probably following up with leads as they should, either on the phone or in the messenger. And in order for them to be able to do that without impacting their sleep quality negatively, one of the tools that will allow them to do that effectively is going to be wearing some sort of blue light blocking glasses. So the circadian clock that we talked about previously functions around hormones. And one of the most important, or two of the most important hormones that you need to have synced and optimized for yourself, for your sales team, for your parents, anyone in the world that needs to function optimally as a human, you need high cortisol levels in the morning and high melatonin levels at night. The problem is that when you first wake up in the morning, you need a ton of light in order to stimulate like the function of this clock and wake you up by producing cortisol. But at night, it's the exact opposite. So the tiniest bit of light, especially bright overhead light, will inhibit your melatonin production, which is the main hormone that you're required to produce in order to sleep well and recover, so that you wake up the next day feeling ready and sharp and focused. So besides putting the best practices in place, which is not having any bright overhead lights and instead replacing that with some kind of lamp or thing that you can put below your eye level, that you can change lights, what's happening here. Like, for example, this here is a Philips Hue light, and I can change colors at night. I turn it blue. I'm sorry that it does that. So we're going to have some special effects for this video, I guess. So at night, you can have them turn everything more dim and below eye level, and firelight colors or candles like Himalayan salt lamps, etc., etc. But if they're still using their computer screens or their devices, having them wear the blue light blockers you bought them is going to do a really big difference for their sleep quality, and as a result, the next day, their energy levels and productivity. So let's go to the third tool, the third device that you can buy for your sales team to improve their productivity. This one will help the circadian clock work better and will help them have more energy while they're taking calls in the beginning of the day. This one is a similar one to the thing that I have in front of him right now. Let me demonstrate what I can do. So you see how bright I can change my light and make it super, super bright? The way that I'm able to do that is because I have a key light in front of me. I have something called the Elgato key light. It's pretty famous type of light that you can put in front of your face or like in your environment, in your studio for content specifically. But what is also really interesting, like another use that you can have it for, and what we're using the video right now for, is because your eyes have some cells that detect bright overhead light. And those cells were meant to detect naturally sunlight and stimulate that circadian clock that we talked about in the beginning to wake you up by producing the right hormones in the morning. And also, because they're made to naturally detect bright overhead light, they keep you awake when there's bright overhead light. So, because naturally your brain was hardwired to not feel sleepy if there is sun outside, if you're simulating that at night with bright overhead lights like this right here, you're not going to feel sleepy and your body is not going to produce melatonin, enough melatonin. And as a result, your sleep will be super, super light and you will not wake up feeling rested and your sales performance the next day will suck. Or compared to other high performance days, that day will probably not be the best, usually. So what we need to do here is you get them a specific type of light that stimulates them in the morning. What does that mean? So most sales reps don't work from a super optimized setup, which means they either work from their office, their dark office with not a lot of light in, and as a result, they don't really leverage their circadian clock for productivity in the best and most effective way. So the best way to optimize or to use lighting exposure to keep a high level of alertness and focus is by having something which is extremely bright in front of them or next to them while they're working. And you might have seen content that is around sunlight exposure when you first wake up in the morning, and you can do that and that will help. However, while you're also in those first hours of the day, let's say even if you wake up, go outside, see sunlight for 5, 10, 15 minutes, that's good. But then what do you do when you are on the phone with leads if you start work in the first hour of the day? It is super important for your productivity, focus, energy levels, and alertness for you to have your eyes exposed to bright light, to as much blue, bright overhead light as possible, especially for those first 8 hours, 9 hours of the day. And it's because you need to actively expose your eyes to sunlight, essentially, aka bright overhead light, in order to stimulate that nervous system to be awake. And there are specific lights that you can use. If you are in dark, overcast countries like the UK, Canada during the winter, any other northern parts of Europe, you might have experienced that you feel this seasonal depression where you don't feel as energized and as happy, and it's mainly because of bright light and mainly sunlight. And this will help fix that. So not only if your team is staying in a northern European country or a dark overcast country, you will help them have predictable and consistent performance year in, year out, but you will also, even if they live in super sunny places, chances are that their office isn't optimized in terms of lighting, and chances are that they're not using lighting to their highest capability to optimize for performance. So number one is having a 10K lux light. This essentially will be as bright as possible and keep their nervous system wired so that they're awake, and when they're taking calls, they're performing at their highest potential because their brains think that it's sunlight outside, and so I need to be awake and firing on all cylinders. So that is only used for the beginning part of the day. And then also another tool that you can use, it's in the lighting category, is a tool called Tuo Light, Tuo Light. I might put a picture on the screen right now, which mimics the sunrise and sunset. Essentially, it mimics when the wavelengths of light that are produced from the sun when the sun is low in the sky, sunrise or sunset. And this is particularly important because the sunlight, the type of sunlight that is on sunrise and sunset, sends particularly strong signals to your brain to sync that circadian clock, because of the spectrum of light, the red, orange, white, blue contrast that there is when the sun is low on the sky. And viewing this Tuo Light for about 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning of the day and around 3 hours before bedtime is going to mimic those signals that your brain would otherwise naturally get from sunlight, which you, by the way, viewing the sunrise or sunset naturally, if you can do that, or if you can have your sales team do that, that is going to be phenomenal for their recovery and circadian clock health. And as a result, they should feel energized in the morning and sleep at night, which is perfect for their recovery and energy levels and have predictable performance. But if they can't do that, you can artificially create those signals by getting them those specific tool lights. And they can have them, they can watch them, like, for example, in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then before bed, like a few hours before bed. And this will help them have predictable performance. So you can either take I think having a 10,000 lux light tool, like it can be for like $20 or something. It's not that expensive. This will make a phenomenal difference in their energy levels. And also on top of that, if you can have like a tool light, which is about $50 for the people that can't really control their lighting, like their environment. If they work in completely different times through the day and wake up at like 10 and they don't see the sunrise or sunset, or because it's like winter and snowing and dark outside, getting those tools is going to make a big difference in energy levels and your sales team's productivity. So those are the 3 devices that are across the multiple devices and tools that we've used with clients and sales teams that we've seen the highest returns. And through science and through research, like it's pretty clear what the most important things are for mental performance, and those fall into that category. So make sure to get those tools. And but if you want to truly take your sales team's performance to the next level, it's not about the tools and the sleep tracking only. It's also about particular tests you can do to see what your team should do or not do throughout the day more in detail. What your team should eat or not eat in terms of the diet. What they should supplement with. How to completely optimize their daily routine for peak performance in sales. There are many more variables that you need to look into. And that's why I've made a specific protocol for sales teams that you can watch and see what are the exact steps you need to take to optimize your sales team's performance, what are the data that you need to have, what are the tests that you need to take for your sales team, and how you can completely optimize your sales team performance using the exact protocol, the exact same protocol that we've used internally with our clients to achieve really phenomenal results. You can check that in my testimonial channel. So if you want to complete breakdown of the step-by-step protocol that we've used with our clients to help maximize sales and mental performance, then watch this video on the screen where I pretty much show you what this protocol is, how we can help you implement that, or how you can take some bits and pieces here and there and copy that for yourself. Take care.